If you're looking for a great lighthearted read, might even make you chuckle a little bit, maybe one of those books that you take along to the beach or you're going to be on a plane, you are going to love my next author. He goes by the name The Cheezeboy. He wrote the book called My Marvelous Super Storybook. His real name is Matthew, and that's what I'm going to refer to you as. Welcome, Matthew.
Well, hello, Kate. How you doing?
I'm good. I have to ask you a little bit about the Cheezeboy name. How did that come about?
It was a friend of mine from years ago. I've always liked cheese anyway, and he just, for some reason, just used to start calling me cheese, and I've had it for about 30 years.
I can think of a lot worse names. Anybody who doesn't
Yeah,
like cheese doesn't need to stick around, right?
yeah.
Well, let's talk about this book, My Marvelous Super Story Book. What's it about? It, what's the main message in here?
It's a book of different stories, and some of them are based on the area I live in England, which I did many years ago. And some of them are fictional, some of them are facts, and the very last chapter of my story is an autobiography.
Oh, very neat. What made you inspired to write this stuff down?
When I wrote this book, I was studying creative writing at college at the time, and a lot of the books ideas that the teacher Nikki gave me, and she says she gave you a picture like Carmen Sanders, and you had to make a life story about her and things like that, and that's like boof, Edison moment.
So that kind of got the ball rolling because this is far from your only book.
Yeah, it is. I'm currently writing book 21.
Wow. Let's talk about stories 1 through 4 in this particular book.
Yeah, well, basically I live in a little village called Colwick, which is just outside Nottingham. Everyone knows Robin Hood and stuff.
Yeah.
But apparently, with it being a writer, Lord Byron's uncle lived at Colwick Hall for about 200 years. And it's a building near me, and I go down there to relax, and there's an old church, and it tells you when it was built. And the village, it had the first settlement in the 11th century. The first people lived in Colwick. And the first church was supposed to have been built in the 10th century. And the current one that Lord Byron's uncle made, or cousin, was built 600 years ago. And that's what the old Colwick church is. And Colwick Hall used to be, because there's a race course right near it, a horse racing.
Okay.
Nottingham Racecourse it's called. And it was originally built for the jockeys, and now it's a 4-star hotel with a country park behind it.
So the stories are broken down between like stories 1 through 4, and then is it 5 through 9, or how is the book laid out?
Yeah, well, they're not actually meant to be in any particular ascending order. It's just the way I wrote them in the book at the time. So that's how they come. And Carmen Sanders, Gemma Chatsworth, and Sergio Malpone were a picture my teacher at college gave me, and I had to write a life story about them.
So it's interesting because I'm looking at some of the characters, Schmid Bosscheese and Wheeler McCheeze. Can you talk about some of those characters?
It's based on Agent Cooper from Twin Peaks, and Mulder and Scully type of sort of person, and they're exorcists. But they've also got special powers like marvelous heroes, I suppose. That's why my book's called that, because they've like got superpowers, and they have like it's like an X-Men type of thing, but not an actual X-Men thing.
So what are some
it's
of
my
the
own
superpowers?
version.
What are some of the superpowers? Can you share them?
Well, some of them can a lot of them deal with the paranormal, you see, and a lot of them can see things. Some can hear things. Some can get rid of things and stuff like that. And they go around traveling, helping people around all the galaxies and stuff like that.
Ah, so they use these powers for good.
Yeah. And then a massive universal war happens, and they have to put all the powers together to try and save everything, because everything's gone, the past, the present, and the future. It's just dust, basically, and they've got to put all the knock their heads together and try and save the whole universe, and that's part of the story as well in that one.
Matthew, this is so different from anything I've ever heard about. This is an incredible imagination. I mean, how do you keep coming up with these ideas?
Well, my friends said I've always wrote ever since I was in like third year. I've always wrote little stories and things, because I got a passing exam at school with a story about a wallet I found that never ran out of money, and I got my exam pass with that story, and I was about 14 then. So I've always had ideas, But I found out recently I can almost always also communicate with spirits, so they also help me co-write books sometimes, and some of them help me do some of the characters in my books. They used to wake me up at like 3 in the morning, and I'd have to put them in a book before I forgot about it when I woke up.
Wow. Wow. Let's talk about Toyville and Toyland.
Yeah, basically the war in Schmid Bosscheese. After you've read the story, it's basically about a rebuild where they rebuild the universe in the town called Toyville, where where Schmid Bosscheese, it's basically Schmid Boscheese's hometown, and it's like on the coast. I suppose it could be like California in a way, or Florida.
Okay.
On the coast, and they go around rebuilding the galaxies and helping their planets and bringing their things back in. It's just a process, and maybe later in time I might do another bit to it. I'm not sure yet.
Hmm. And chapter 16, story 16 seems to be a special one to you. Let's talk more about that.
Yeah, that's my autobiography basically. That explains all my life. Story 16 does, and it tells you where I came from. It even mentions the magic wallet in it. And I went through a lot of problems with relationships in the past, and I also, God bless her, I lost a daughter 14 years ago, and that basically is one of the reasons I actually really started writing, because I had nowhere to put these emotions except on pen and paper, and since then it's progressed and developed, and because I wrote a lot of books and they're all poetry books, but after this marvelous super story book, there's always a little Schmid Bosscheese or a Wheeler McCheeze story in all my books after that, and the more deeper and richer, more background and things like that. So I'm getting more into it. So I suppose it's evolving, my writing.
You know, it seems like your creativity was spurred on by being in some of the darkest places.
Yeah, it was.
What would your advice be to someone who's thinking about writing, and they just don't feel qualified? They don't feel, they're just missing confidence. What would you say to them?
Well, you don't really need to be qualified to write, because if you're going through trouble, sometimes it helps. It could be, I call it my self-shrinking, my writing, because when I was going through a bad time, I started writing, and what I read, it made me feel better. So my advice to them would be a similar sort of thing. If you've got problems and you can't get them out without being violent, just try and write it down, and they might find it might help them, but I don't know. It depends on each individual, doesn't it?
Matthew, would you say most of your stories have a very positive spin to them?
There are some dark ones, because in my little blue book, my very first book, that's when I was going through the real darkness phase after after what happened. And then a lot of it's more light-hearted. Every now and then, if I'm in a bad mood, there'll be a naughty poem or something like that, because I'm frustrated, so I put it all down. And then I'll write a really unicorn and fairy sort of poem, so I don't know where it all comes from half the time.
All right, so that we're directing the audience to the right audience. Are these for adult or for children? Because superhero instantly makes me think this for children, but you talked about something, a naughty poem or something. What?
Yeah, well, Marvelous Super Story book is for children, because there's a story in it called Wheeler McCheeze's, and I wrote that with my nephew, my sister, my mum, my niece, and my daughter. They all gave me the names. That's why you get some really funny names in it, because it was their ideas, and they're the ones that kept waking me up in the middle of the night to say, I want this car, I want that car, write me down, and I didn't remember what I wrote in the morning. And basically, because Wheeler McCheeze has got so many stories now, I think I might be turning that into a novel later on down the road, because it's already about 500 pages long.
Wow.
And because the one in this book's 100 pages long.
Matthew, I love what you're saying. How special to write so many books that you can look back on and know where you were emotionally in your life. What great inspiration for upcoming authors. It's almost like a diary on steroids.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
You know?
I write about things that happen, things I see on the news, things that happen to me, what happened to my friends. It's all that's why it's sort of all, and it's all mixed in together. I don't know how I mix it in, but that's just the way I write, you see. I have ideas coming from all over all the time.
So what's up next?
Up next, I'm currently writing something called Pop's Black Notebook, and that's a mixture of poems and stories, and that's what I said. Most of my books are poems, and they've all got naughty bits in them. So I've only actually wrote one book that kids can really read, without the parents saying, "Why is there so much swearing in it?" Unless you have to edit it all. But it's a safe book for children to read.
Well, Matthew, it's been a joy talking to you. We want to thank Prime 7 Media for making this interview possible. And again, where can we get a hold of you personally if someone wants to reach out to you?
Well, I'm on Facebook under my real name, Matthew Mayfield, and also I've got an email address.
All right, we'll make sure to get
Which
that on the screen.
do you want me to tell you that here?
Yeah, please tell us. Yeah,
it's S for sugar, I for igloo,
okay.
D for dog, 93 VSG at hotmail.co.uk. I hope you got all that.
All right. Well, we can repeat it and we will definitely have it on the screen. It was a joy to talk to you. And I think we're going to be chatting again soon, Matthew. Thanks so much.
It's a joy to talk to you as well. Thank you, Susan. Shake your hand if you could. Let's shake.
Handshake. Thank you.
Bye bye.